Dan Potter in Indianapolis, where we've just had a development come out of the Instructors Summit. The instructors have been meeting, have held a vote. It's a vote concerning the field judges. Kevin Shaw with Blue Knights and a member of the Rules and Systems Task Force explains what they've done.
So we've been talking a lot about member safety at these meetings, and the executive committee and the voting membership had asked the RSTF to come up with some recommendations as to what we can do as an activity to continue to further the safety of our performers on the field. And one of the things that got brought up were the judges that you see on the field level that do adjudicate visual proficiency, brass and percussion. And so we did have quite a bit of discussion in terms of what it is that we can do in terms of their placement, whether or not they need to be on field level in the box or continue to keep our current system and ensure safety. And I think the biggest thing that we all came away with was that yes, there is something that we can do in terms of how it is that we approach field judging, but we all do still agree that especially for percussion, brass, and visual performance proficiency, that we do like to keep those judges at field level. And so we've come up with some parameters and guidelines to help that process along.
In other words, the field judges won't necessarily be in the heart of things where they used to be, right?
Right, and the idea is that they wouldn't go into the forms. They're not being asked to go into the drill. And specifically, this probably applied mostly to the percussion judge, because generally the visual and the brass judge kind of sample from the front or around the sides. And traditionally, the percussion judge on the field would go out with the battery to really experience that raw emotion and feeling and accuracy and player-to-player, intention and clarity. And our feeling now is that, yes, that still needs to happen, but we can do it in a way where with a little bit of better planning in terms of staging for the percussion and, depending on where they are on the field, being in front of the snare line or being a little, 4 or 5 feet further back, but in a safer zone, it's still going to yield the same results. So I think this is kind of a little bit of a compromise on a lot of fronts, but a win for the activity.
It's kind of been a growing, not a growing issue, but it's developed through the last couple of days, the discussion about this, where I almost thought that there was going to be more pushback to this idea, especially from the percussion community, that they wanted the judges in there tight to get a really close-in sample. Ultimately, though, when the instructors just voted in this meeting, it was unanimous to move the percussion judge along with the visual and brass judges off the field, even though they're at field level.
I think there's still some feeling that we do want to see percussion being judged from up close, especially in a dome environment, and especially at the highest level in the activity where these percussion students are displaying such quality that separating them that closely in a dome environment requires that clear oral experience and even visual experience for that judge. But I think that the biggest thing, obviously, being safety on our minds, that we wanted to make sure that we're still using common sense with the way that we're applying these things. It's not necessarily safety, so therefore everything is out, but we're taking measured action to make sure that we can preserve what we have, but still ensure safety.
Again, the instructors, and this is informative of the process here because it comes from the instructors and the Rules and Systems Task Force. They just passed it. Now it goes to the corps directors. What's your sense, Kevin? Do you think the corps directors will take the instructors' recommendation and pass it as well?
I really hope so. They've asked us to come to them for a solution because they want to do what is the best for their instructors and their students, and they're coming to us to give them a solution because I know for their feeling is, well, if we just come up with something on our own, we're not going to really make anybody happy. So at least if we're going to do it this way, we can have some discussion. And so, but as we've seen in the past, you never know what's going to happen. So there might be overriding mitigating circumstances. So as the instructional caucus, we do our best to, with our scope of the activity, give the recommendation that we think is going to be best, based on our limited view.
It's for the best for the safety of the performers and the judges as well.
Absolutely.
Kevin, thanks.
Thank you.
Kevin Shaw with the Blue Knights. We'll be back later on this afternoon and let you know how the corps directors voted. Dan Potter, DCI News Network.